Welcome to a presentation, this time on the topic of using the weather as a weapon. On the screen, a quotation attributed to an alleged Susan Sontag, quote, "War is elective, it is not an inevitable state of affairs, war is not the weather," end quote. Now, this so-called Susan Sontag has done a few books, one of which is called Reborn, or Born Again, John chapter 3, £8.80. Now take away the 0, you've got 88, which is double the number of new beginnings. Now we have a clip from 1963, a weather modification speech by President John F. Kennedy.
We must, for example, balance the gains of weather modification against the hazards of protracted drought or storm.
And if that's not enough, let's have a look at another one. Let's have a look at one by LBJ, Lyndon Johnson, on weather control.
It lays the predicate and the foundation for the development of a weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
What I particularly like here is a nice little Wikipedia warm warning. I love this. They tell you they control the weather, they tell you it's a weapon, but there's climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. Human activities have been the main driver of climate change, primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil and gas. However, have a look at some documents they've actually published. The Office of the Historian, Department of State in America, Washington, January 13th, 1967. Subject: Weather Modification in North Vietnam and Laos. Project Popeye. 6 letters. The objective of the program is to produce sufficient rainfall along these lines of communication to interdict or at least interfere with truck traffic between North and South Vietnam. Recently improved cloud seeding techniques would be applied on a sustained basis in a non-publicized effort to induce continued rainfall through the months of the normal dry season. Now, I was stationed in Berlin in 1990, and that was my accommodation was at the Berlin British sector there, and I worked at a place called Teufelsberg, and Teufelsberg in German means literally Devil's Mountain. It's where they got all the rubble from Berlin and put it together and made a little hill out of it, and on top of which they put an American and British listening post for signals intelligence. So I can't say too much about it. However, it does look like some great enormous phallic symbol. I'm sure that's not by design, of course, and lots of these interesting so-called radar balls. Teufelsberg Berlin weather warfare. Yes, it was used for SIGINT, signals intelligence, but not active weather modification or warfare. Okay, so I feel suitably informed that, of course, like the Wikipedia warning, they've got to be telling me the truth. Really? The radomes here, the iconic white domes which are still visible, house radar and monitoring equipment to track aerial activity and signals. There is no evidence that Teufelsberg was involved in weather warfare, probably the opposite then, which involves altering weather patterns for military advantage. It was a listening post designed for intelligence, not climate manipulation. What about this one then? The Duga. Anyone who served during the signals intelligence during the Cold War, so-called, a cover for all kinds of operations going off. This massive radar station by Chernobyl, over the horizon radar to detect allegedly whether they will have nuclear weapons fired at them. Oh look, the horizon. It looks pretty horizontal to me. Don't see much curvature there. Anyway, so this was beamed into the ionosphere ostensibly to bounce off and then track any nuclear weapons that are fired into the former Soviet Union. If you fire high energetic radar waves into the ionosphere, the atmosphere, you're probably going to affect the weather as well. There's a lot of jokes going about saying it was a Soviet way of mind control or anything but altering the weather, of course. They wouldn't possibly be doing that at that time. A paper published in August 1996, Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025. Oh, in 2025, United States Aerospace Forces can own the weather by capitalizing on emerging technologies. What do you mean by own the weather? The conclusion was to protect people and property and more efficiently use our croplands, forests and rangelands. Well, if that's the case, they're not doing a very good job, are they, judging by the weather we're having the last few years? The ability to modify the weather may be desirable both for economic and defense regions, so you can modify them. Table 1, Operational Capabilities Matrix. I'm looking at the enemy forces. Who do you define as being the enemy? Is it a foreign country or is it your own population? Precipitation enhancement, you make it rain more. Seeing a lot of that. Storm enhancement, what, more storms? 2020 we had sunshine in the first lockdown, so-called endless sunshine, lovely time. Now we just have one storm after another. They can do this. Precipitation denial, stopping rain from falling, to deny fresh water and induce drought. Fog and cloud removal, if they can remove it, they can therefore do the opposite, which is add it, of course. Here we have a patent of 25th of March 2010, High Altitude Atmospheric Injection System, Stratospheric Aerosol Injection, SAI it's called. And here we have a system and method is described generally for affecting atmospheric change. What could possibly go wrong? Further, the system and method include expelling the first material into the atmosphere at high altitude. I wonder how they could do that. Oh, here's another patent. 9th of September 2022, method of geoengineering to reduce solar radiation, otherwise known as solar radiation management. A method to facilitate the reduction of solar radiation impacting Earth proposes, which means they're doing it, the use of a plurality of porous particles that are introduced into Earth's stratosphere at an average distance of at least 10 kilometers above sea level. Again, what could possibly go wrong? Why are you trying to reduce the solar radiation? And these particles like silver iodide or calcium carbonate. I think most people who tear themselves away from looking down at their phones and actually look up at the sky will be very aware in the last few years of some very strange patterns in the sky. Now, I've heard people argue to the cows come home that these are normal vapor trails from aircraft. Well, I don't know many vapor trails that can do circles and can do crosses and all kinds of patterns. And this is over our house. So looking here from in England at the sky, that is not normal. I don't care how many times I have this argument with people, that is not a normal sky. And neither is that. That is not a normal sky pattern. These are not normal clouds. These are man-made. Nature does not do straight lines. Anyone will think there's a military operation. Oh yes, there is one called Operation Indigo Skyfold, the most secret, covert, black operation. And now we have these wonderful 12 new cloud patterns. I'm so glad they gave it to us now to show us all these beautiful cloud patterns that we have suddenly discovered in the last few years. Nothing suspicious here at all. How many times does the word weather appear in the entire King James Bible? Well, interesting enough, 4 times in 4 verses. Now 4 is a number of the world, 4 corners of the earth. Very difficult to get a corner on a globe. Twice from the Old Testament, twice from the New Testament, both in Matthew. Weather as a noun is the state of the air or atmosphere, change of a state of the air or storm or tempest. Weather as a verb is to weather a point, etc. Now we have the reading of Matthew chapter 16 and verse 3.
And in the morning it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the signs of the times?
I suppose that's a positive side effect actually. If you change weather patterns and systems, you can no longer discern it's going to be a nice day. And therefore, if you can't discern the weather, you can't then discern the signs of the times. So you're vulnerable to all kinds of deceptions. There, I've got it now. Yeah. Of course, the first column is the Greek NTTR plus, the Greek New Testament Textus Receptus plus with Strong's Concordances. This is a majority text. Majority means most of the manuscripts. The next column is the Greek NTWH plus, the Greek New Testament Westcott and Hort plus with Strong's Concordances. This is the minority text. Westcott Hort were closet Catholics, believed in evolution, and created Ghostly Guild ghost huntings. I'm out. KJV Plus, King James Version Plus, with Strong's Concordances, translated only from the majority Texas receptors. DRB, the Jesuit Roman Catholic Douay-Rheims Bible, and KJV, the New King James Version, ESV, the English Standard Version, NIV, the New International Version, and the GNB, the Good News Bible, so called. So of course we've got these words highlighted here, some doubt at the end of the minority text as always, to take words out, change words. Here we have G5494, the word for foul weather. Note the Catholic Bible says a storm. New King James says foul weather. ESV changes it into stormy. NIV says stormy as well. GNB says going to rain. And the JW New World Translation at the bottom 2013. And the JW New World Translation of 2013 says it will be wintry, rainy, weather. At least I've got the weather word in there. But using the Greek NTTR plus facility on eSword, I can look at the Greek word chemon here, and that is G5494. It is a noun, nominative, it's a subject, singular and masculine. Noun, not stormy, not the same. Things that are different are not the same. Change a word, you change meaning, and you're in danger of changing doctrine. So in conclusion, could weather systems be manipulated as a weapon? I'm only saying, is it climate change or is it weather manipulation, weather warfare? WW, climate change, CC. Interesting. Now we have the reading of Genesis chapter 1 verses 14 to 16.
And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven, to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also.
So that verse points out that God made everything. Mankind is entrusted to look after it. However, we are manipulating it to our own destruction. Here are the references as always. And we'll finish off with we need to hear the gospel singular, there's only one every day, because we forget it singular, there's only one every day. Thank you for watching. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Moreover, brethren, I declare unto you the gospel which I preached unto you, which also ye have received, and wherein ye stand, by which also ye are saved, if ye keep in memory what I preached unto you, unless ye have believed in vain. For I delivered unto you, first of all, that which I also received, how that Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he rose again the 3rd day according to the Scriptures,